What's up, y'all? Got back from New York and New Jersey, adding the 31st state I've been to. That's crazy. I never thought I would travel to that many states. Very thankful for it. God did a lot of cool things, and it kind of spurred in me and one of my friends, Myra, Maida, who I met out there from Brazil. She encouraged me kind of just to keep making videos and that kind of stuff. So I want to say a little bit of my life testimony, or short version, one of the favorite testimonies of my life. And that was ever since I was a little kid, or maybe 10, I'll just say 10. As long as I can remember, I've struggled with being depressed for about 2 weeks out of every single month. I don't know why, totally how it happened, but obviously some ways of thinking, some ways I grew up. We won't really go into that. But 2 weeks out of every month, it'd kind of be like clockwork. And it would almost stop like clockwork, a week and a half to 2 weeks. And then I would just be over it. And then I could kind of be myself, or who I kind of wanted to be, energy wise and outlook wise. And just, it was weird. But it was so normal to me for so many years. So I didn't think twice about it until maybe I got into my early to mid 20s, started going to a really cool church, and then I obviously a little more self-examination and just like, hey, like God's got amazing things for you. And it's not that things are always going to be tough. I mean, it's promised that things are going to happen, but that God will be with me. He won't leave me. And I had a lot of good, cool times, but it kind of came to a head a year and a half ago. Mental breakdown stuff, maybe panic attack, I'm not sure. And certainly some demonic stuff came about, leading it to about 4 months of, give or take, a living hell in my mind. And yeah, most days I would wake up and be like, oh my gosh, that was a scary dream. And then I realized that it was not a dream. It was just yesterday in my head. It was bad. I definitely had days where I didn't want to like end things like myself, but I would have been like, God, I would love to not wake up. I mean, this is terrible. And you never know how long hard things are going to last for, especially like really hard things. So just real talk, it was that bad for about 4 months. I'd never taken medication for mental health or depression or anything like that, and I got this far up until I was 29, and I started going to some Christian counseling through all the toughness, and finally was like, I should probably take some medication. I did, and maybe it was, I couldn't really tell. Things were still tough. And then I finally saw a sermon, because all throughout this I would try and spend time with the Lord, but I'd never spend like tons of time. It'd just be like 5 minutes here and 10 minutes there, and I don't know, I would never keep track. But I heard a sermon, and it just clicked for me of like, he was talking about one of his friends. He's like, Ron or whatever always goes to McDonald's every morning from 6 to 7 a.m. So no one ever calls him, no one ever disturbs him, because he's meeting with God. He spends his God time like it's an appointment with with a physical person. And it just, you hear stuff, but it made sense in that moment. And I was like, why don't I do that? Like, I know God's the answer, but just going through hell, and I don't understand why. So I started doing it, maybe that day, and it was really good. I did some journaling. I read the Bible. I did some praise music and worship, and just did whatever. If I got bored of one thing, I did the other, and just set a timer for an hour like that guy did. And I was like, wow, that was good. I think I needed to do that. So I'm like, just do it some more, did it the next day and the next day. And by then I was like, I felt really good. I'm out of the depressive thoughts. Like being in God's presence, like brought me out of it. But I'm like, it's going to come back. And it just didn't. I kept doing it. I've been doing it for a year and 2 months now. And just an hour with God every day, whether it's reading, writing, journaling, praying, just talking to God about my day, anything, praise and worship, reading the Bible. I just oscillate through them. And ever since I've been doing that, I haven't even been depressed for one day out of every month. Obviously, I have some normal ups and downs, but I just bring them to God. So I realize how crazy that is, being depressed half of my life for as long as I can remember. And now I just haven't been for even a whole day. Again, normal like ups and downs. I get bad news and I'm like, oh, that's stressful. Like, what am I going to do? But then I just go spend time with God. And then it's like, okay, it's still going to be kind of tough, but I get it in perspective. It's not as heavy. I can do this. Like it's not that I have just smooth sailing, but I haven't been depressed a whole day. Nonetheless, a whole week. Nonetheless, a whole 2 weeks. Ever since I started doing this. And it's been about a year and 2 months. So I just was telling that to one of my new friends that I met in Jersey. And it was just more of a confirmation of like, why don't you share that? Why don't you get that down? And I have written it down, and I do think about it fairly often, and I have tried to make a video about it, but I stumble over my words, or I'm like, oh, this isn't quite right. But hey, why not get something out rather than nothing? So that is my favorite personal Jesus testimony of like, it wasn't even on my radar. I never even prayed for it to be cured of depression and oppression. Also, I went off the antidepressant medication, and obviously I went off it like normally, just because I had gone so many years without it, and I tried it, and I know different ones work and don't work, but I just figured it's pretty obvious that spending time with Jesus in his presence kind of is the prescription I should be taking every day. So yeah, that's a crazy, I understand it's a crazy testimony. I know it's not how, God doesn't work the same with everybody. Some people it might be way quicker or way cooler, and some people it's just a different process. But for me personally, it's crazy. It's crazy. Haven't been depressed in over a year for even a whole day. So praise God. Hope this encourages you. And if not, it encourages myself just to get it out there. So bless y'all. See ya.